Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Lisa Marshall. I'm the Vice President of College Broadcasters Incorporated, and we're really excited to have PRSS Content Depot with us today. This webinar will be recorded and distributed to our membership and posted on our website. And so thank you for your time today. We have Renee and Earl with us today with Content Depot, and they're going to give us an overview of the service and also be able to have plenty of time to take your questions. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Renee. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Lisa, and thanks for having us. And we appreciate you throwing this all together for your stations. Normally we try to make it to the College Broadcasters Conference, and we have a really good time there. So we just thought that maybe we would give you an overview of Content Depot and maybe answer any questions that you have, and just give you some information and some contact information if you feel like this can help you. So basically, we've got enhance your radio programming with Content Depot. Just a little overview. Content Depot was built in 1979. It was provided, it was funded by the CPB through Congress. And what it is the public radio satellite system. At the time, all of the public radio programming went through the PRSS, and it was uplinked through Washington, and there are various physical satellite downlinks across the station, across the nation. And over time, the PRSS developed Content Depot probably 10 or 15 years ago, Earl?
Yeah, around that time.
They created a file delivery service so that files could be actually delivered over the internet and didn't need to be transmitted live over satellite. So as you can see today, the public radio satellite service includes more than 400 downlinks. It serves nearly 1,600 public radio stations nationwide. The main uplink, the Network Operations Center, is in Washington, in NPR headquarters, and there is a full backup NOC in St. Paul, Minnesota. So if something happens in Washington, all operations are shifted over to Minnesota with very little interruption. And we test that out quite a bit, so that in case of an emergency, we're ready to go. So a lot of people are concerned about the interconnection fee with Content Depot. They feel that Content Depot is out of their price range, when in fact, there's an annual interconnection fee. It is based on total station revenue, and what we do is you would submit a revenue worksheet. If you're the less your station has in revenue, the less you pay. You can see that the starting fee, it's on a sliding scale, and the lowest fee starts at $250 a year. New stations are offered a 50% first year new station discount, so it could be as low as $125 a year. And then the second year, there is a 25% discount off the interconnection fee. Again, the fee is based on your station revenue, and the interconnection gives you access to all programming on Content Depot, whether it's free or paid. And all programming on Content Depot is subscription, so all the programming on Content Depot is capable of being delivered directly to your automation system. So, again, there's access with the fee. You just pay the fee, and then you have access to as many free programs as you'd like. Some of the Content Depot offerings, one of the handy things that has come up lately is that the Content Depot portal is accessible anywhere. If you have to work from home, you can get into the portal through your internet. There's a lot of free and paid weekly programs. There's always something new. There's specials and holiday programs available. Many of them are free. We have a very reliable automated delivery. It's almost 100% reliable for files and satellite. We do have a help desk that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. This year there's 366. But somebody will answer the phone and we'll get back to you and help you with whatever problems you have anytime, day and night. We also developed something called Metapod, which resides within Content Depot. And this enables program metadata to be delivered directly to stations. So what happens is the producers will put in, program names, logos. They could put in hosts, any kind of metadata, and it is delivered directly with the program, with your subscription, right to your station. And then you would take that. I'll go through this in a little bit more detail. But the metadata is just delivered directly to your station.
I could ask a couple questions, Renee. We have a couple
Okay.
questions in our chat about revenue before
Okay.
we move on. One comes from Jamie Lynn Gilbert. Do student fees count as revenue? So
is the student fees, I don't believe so. I believe that the revenue worksheet, Earl, correct me if I'm wrong, refers to just income for the radio station.
Yes, you're right. No, we don't take into account individual revenue, individual fees, just the revenue that is generated from the station. Say, for example, if you're licensed to a university station, and the university gives you, say, operating expenses, that would be counted as what we count against your income. So yeah, but not individual fees that stations are assessed. No.
Okay, thank you. Jamie can comment if we need more detail on that. And another question from Newman Media says, we don't underwrite and have no revenue. Would there be a minimal fee for educational broadcasters? Is that the $250 fee you were mentioning or less, or another type of fee?
Right. So the fee is based on, it's like on a sliding scale. And I think for the minimum fee, I think the cutoff is about $20,000. So if your station pulls in less than $20,000 a year, you can expect to pay the minimum. And I think, is it 2.1%, Earl?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so after that, it would be like 2.1% of your total total station revenue. But I think anything under $20,000 is would be the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions about pricing, at least for now, before we move on?
And there are no hidden fees in Content Depot. Stations pay the one interconnection fee. There's no, I mean, you may pay if you want paid programming from, like a larger producer, like, some producers charge for programming, but if you take the free programming, there's no there's no hidden fees for interconnection. So if you have a small station revenue, you can expect to, pay $125 for a year. And so,
Okay,
and we do evaluate that every year. We, and usually stations revenue doesn't really change all that much. So you can, kind of figure out year to year what your fee would be. So was there another question?
I don't see any other at this
Okay.
time. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Renee.
Okay. So going back down the list, it's a very user-friendly interface within the portal. It's very easy for stations to use. Also within ContentDepot, they they established a professional industry standard for audio. So all of your audio on all of the programming on ContentDepot has been analyzed and should adhere to professional audio standards. So your programs are going to sound good on ContentDepot. In ContentDepot, there's also exchanges. If you have a group of radio stations or within ContentDepot and you want to exchange pieces of programming, anything like that, you can set up an exchange and you guys can, put stuff up and take stuff down, and that's all within ContentDepot. And there is also a messaging and a mail system, so you can receive notices about alerts and programming and cue sheets, and everything can be sent directly to you. And that's all within the portal. So we have two different types of program delivery in ContentDepot. We have the live programs and the internet. The live programs require the satellite and a receiver, and you're able to take live and file programs. And the live programs are generally, breaking news and special events that and news programs. And the programs are delivered automatically to your receivers and your automation via subscription. And they are also the Metapod enabled, which is the metadata is just delivered right with the program. When the program releases or when the program is delivered, the metadata goes with it. The other type of programs is the internet, and most stations are more familiar with that. And these are only file programs, and it only requires an internet interconnection. And the ContentDepot delivers this automatically to your station's FTP, and then your FTP goes in, grabs it, and sticks it in your automation. If you don't have an FTP site, there is a manual download option. The internet interconnection is, the file programs are also Metapod enabled. The metadata is also delivered with the programs. And the cost of the internet interconnection is 50% less. It's half the cost of satellite interconnection. So, so that's the two types of program delivery that we have. Are there any questions about that? Okay. Here's just this changes all the time, but I made a list of free programs that are available within ContentDepot. It's ever changing. These are a lot of it, mostly weekly programs, and I broke them down between program length, and they're all subscribable, so they're all delivered right to your automation system. And with the program, with the ContentDepot interconnection, you can subscribe to as many of these programs as you want at no extra fee. So again, during like holidays and like there's usually a lot more programming available. There's also paid programming if you have that in your budget, and then with that you need to contact the producers of the program. And when you look at the program page will tell you whether or not a program is free or if there is a fee involved. And all of this is searchable within ContentDepot. There's a excellent search search engine in there. Lots of filters. You can search by length and genre, whether it's free, whether there's Metapod available, things like that. So there's a pretty good search engine within ContentDepot. So these are the free programs. Again, you can take as many free programs as you'd like at no extra charge. And here's just a little graphic about Metapod and how it works. Basically, on the left, you have your programs, and it's not just these NPR programs and things like that. It's most programs are Metapod enabled, even the smaller programs. And so what happens is that when the air window releases, the Metapod is sent to the station with the program. If your station has the middleware that's necessary for this to work, then what it captures the meta data, and then the station assigns outputs for the metadata, whether it's phone apps, you could do the car displays, and you can send this to streaming, stuff like that. And if you need help with this, not a lot of, maybe some college stations don't have this, but it's something, you might look into if you feel like that's something that would be useful for your station. So this is all within ContentDepot and available. And we actually have a department at ContentDepot that deals with this. So if anybody has any questions about this, or if you have and you don't really know how to set it up, we can help you with that. So we also have, besides from the stations downloading programs, there's also the ContentDepot with the producers in ContentDepot. And basically this is open to any public producer, non-commercial. It can be live, it can be internet, and there's really large producers like NPR and APM, PRI. And then there's very small producers that produce, a minute program a week. So there's all different types of producers. And, they're all welcome to upload their programs to ContentDepot. There are costs involved in distributing the programs. And so if you need any information about that, we have rates and discounts available. So basically, you pretty much want to have a program that you think that people would be interested in taking before you want to spend the money to put this up here. So, but then it would be available to all the stations to take. So, the PRSS is not just NPR stations. It's open to all public and non-commercial entities, the producers, syndicators, and distributors. We have stations that as big as, like it says, WNYC in New York, and then we have stations in the remote sections of Alaska, and a lot of native stations across the country. We also have several LP stations and community stations and college stations. So as long as you're non-commercial and then you're eligible for interconnection with ContentDepot. So. And that's all I have for this. This is our contact information. I'm Renee. Earl's on the line. We also have a website that has a lot of information on it, PRSS.org. That's a good place to go. It has a lot of information, even if you're not on Content Depot. There's a lot, if you're producing programs, there's a lot of standards. You know, there's a lot of information on how to produce programs that would be air quality. So if you, you know, you have some extra time and you want to hit a good website, you can go there. I also wanted to mention that we mentioned that over 400 stations are, you know, interconnected with Content Depot. And I know this is the college broadcasters, and these are college, a lot, you know, college stations. This is a skill that people ask for on job descriptions. If they're Content Depot, familiar with Content Depot, this is an actual skill that might come in handy when you leave college. So if you want to pursue, you know, a job in radio. So do you have anything else, Earl?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. Just adding that, I think one of the advantages of using the system for college stations is that a lot of times you don't maybe have a lot of your staff is volunteer, and so during like exams or holidays, a lot of times that leaves you with people who maybe don't have time to do an air shift. And the advantage of having a system like this is that it gives you access to all types of programming to fill in all types of air blocks. So you have content to say if somebody doesn't show up for an air shift, then you can go in and grab a show that's, you know, maybe similar to an air shift that somebody used to do, if it's music, if it's talk. So it gives you a wide variety of program choices to use that they kind of help round out your air schedule. Also like to add, just someone just reminded Mike Black, who's the XXI, on the call, and I remember I was at a station in Atlanta when Content Depot first rolled out, and Mike had just reminded me that he was one of the original trainers on Content Depot when it first rolled out. So he was helping other program directors, engineers, and other people who were using it at stations to become familiar with the system. So he's been around and knows the system quite well. Mike, you want to add anything?
No, the only thing about it, and this is where it's kind of more a philosophical or difference and things like that. One of the things that the PRSS, the satellite system, is, it's all encompassing. So it really includes a variety of programs. A lot of times public radio, or when you say public radio, it's always like, oh, that's the NPR station, or that's the news station, or it's the classical station. But that's not the case. There's all kinds of content up there, all kinds of producers. There's even some commercial producers that actually produce content for non-commercial stations up here, including live concerts and music programs that are available to stations as well. So it's really, it's a great resource. The fee structure is very good for college stations and non-commercial stations. And the fact that you no longer have to have a downlink is also a big plus, to be able to grab it off an FTP download site or something like that. It is just really easy to use. During the COVID crisis, we have used PRSS for a couple stations. We run a AAA service in addition to a full-time news and full-time classical service. And the ability to pull some additional programming off of PRSS in terms of existing programs that we already carry in different hours, but also from the standpoint of other services. I'm going to put a big plug in, and this is a paid program, but I'm just going to give you an idea about the cost effectiveness of this. There's an organization on PRSS called the African American, I think it's AASC, African American Satellite Consortium.
No, African American Public Radio Consortium.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I couldn't remember the acronym. That produces a ton of content that is amazing. So they have all kinds of music programs, all kinds of they have talk programs and different genres and jazz and hip hop and things like that. that are available to stations, and the fees they charge on an annual contract are incredibly affordable and usage. So you could almost program, there's enough content on there to almost program a station full time with just their content. So again, there's a lot of things you on there. It's not meant to, again, there's a hesitancy because obviously you want to showcase your students, but there are times when students aren't available or other content that you want to use to enhance your existing programming that is available that currently is not being aired in your market, even on other non-commercial stations. So it gives an idea of how bountiful it is. I think if you take a look at the PRSS website, you'll get an idea about what's available there. And I think both Renee and Earl will give you more details. I don't want to jump on Jamie's questions, but that list of programming that Renee put up there, that's really a tip of the iceberg. There is so much more out there. It changes all the time. Things get additioned all the time. There are specials that keep getting added that are available. And even from some of the big producers such as NPR, American Public Media, PRX, though they have their own distribution, they still use the satellite. There are producers that sometimes just say, well, we'd love to get that program, but we're not an NPR station. A lot of these producers, if the program is not on in your market, you might be able to get access to that program from those producers as well. And being a member of PRSS helps you get that program. So again, I encourage you to check it out. The interconnection rate is incredibly affordable for college stations. Again, you justify the cost versus the expense, but I really think it's something that a lot of stations should look into.
Right, and you just mentioned that, and I wanted to, I know WNYC was also offering during the whole COVID crisis, their programming for free. So there, things like that happen. And also, I wanted to let you know, if you wanted to jot down our contact information, I would be happy to send you a guest login, so you can actually go into ContentDepot and take a look around. You can search for programs, you can see how it's set up, things like that, and I would be happy to send you a guest login. So,
and I think that would answer the question we just had. Is there a demo available to explore the site?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Great. I'll also add, tagging along to Michael's comments, our station has used PRSS and ContentDepot for over 20 years, and some of the shows on that list have been staples on our Sunday morning programming, where we find a lot of our listenership gravitates towards alternative types of programs. I would also add, we use the EncoDad automation system, and one of the reasons I love DAD is because of its integration with ContentDepot, and the cut numbers override each other each week. You don't have to worry about head and tailing cuts. You don't have to worry about resetting metadata in terms of what day it should air or what time. And I can't be more pleased as a programmer with how Depot works so easily with the DAD automation system. I can't say enough good things. So thank you for your work with all of that back end thing, all those back end things to make it work with automation systems. It's great for the programming side.
Well, thank you. And thank you to Michael Black, because I know that Michael's been a part of, we're always looking to improve upon ContentDepot, and we take a lot of ideas and stuff, and, hey, this if we could do this. And I know Michael's been in a lot of groups that, little think groups that, like, how can we make ContentDepot better? And they're like constantly improving ContentDepot and making changes to make it a better user experience for stations and for producers. So as technology evolves, we're evolving with the technology. So, there's all kinds of things that are available now that weren't available 10 years ago. So, and a lot of that is because stations input and producers input about how the system could work better for them. So,
And I'll also add the 1 to 2 minute modules are great for breaks in between programs at the top of the hour or bottom of the hour, however your clock is structured, to get you out of something and give your automation or your live DJs that needed break to transition between host or whatever it may be. So I love those little module programs as well you showed.
And they're really well made too. I mean, they're really, they're interesting and they're well done. And so, you know, the things that you get off of Content Depot are, you know, professional, you know, grade audio, you know, that would be beneficial for any station. So they're really well done and really well thought out. So, yeah.
Other questions, feel free. You don't have to drop it in the chat if you don't want to. Feel free to chime right in.
I still haven't found the chat. I'm like, I'm like so new to, I'm so new to Zoom. I'm like, I can't even find.
It's at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Paul, did you have your hand up? Did you?
Yeah, if I can. I want to be a cheerleader and ask a question. At Muhlenberg, we've been using this forever. Before there was a satellite system, we were getting things on cassette and CD. One of the shows that is on there is Planetary Radio that we've been airing. I think apart from the broadcast station, we were the second station to air that. But there's a great variety of stuff from Planetary Radio. Harry Shearer's Le Show is one we use. Alternative Radio, because we used to do Pacifica and things like that. And the content's great. The tech support is phenomenal. I know I've spoken to Earl before on the phone with issues I've had on receivers and some of the other folks on that end. Tech support is top notch, so great on that. That leads to the question, when are the new receivers shipping out?
That's an Earl question. So,
That's an Earl question.
We have one, but we're a beta station, so.
Yeah, well, Mike's a beta, WXXI is a beta station. Well, of course, you know, when prior to the pandemic hitting, every station probably would have had the receivers by now. But we've had to move that timeline back. And right now, what we're currently looking at is that some stations are still not back to full operation yet. And so we're probably going to be within the next couple of weeks, we're probably going to be sending out some type of communication to all the stations, just asking them if they are in a position to receive their receivers, we can ship them to them. If they're not, then we'll just kind of move them to the end of the list. So I think we want to start maybe, I'm going to say late July, early August, but don't quote me on that yet. But I know we will be contacting stations and through some communication within the next couple of weeks, just to see how many stations are actually have staff back in the building, and if they do, how many stations are able to take their receivers, take the shipment of the receivers. So everything's been pushed back. As far as the dual operations, that probably is going to run into probably next year. So we've had to push back, you know, the timeline for a couple of months. So, you know, it's really
okay, great. Thanks, Earl. One other thing, another thing that one of the shows we run is 51%, and they send us a quarterly issues report every 3 months. As today is June 30th, it might be a good thing to know. And we air it every week, but I can choose several of those to put into my quarterly issues, and it's already done for me.
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, most of the programs come with, cue sheets, rundowns, playlists, things like that. So there's a lot of stuff that gets sent with the program. So.
Other questions? Renee or Earl, anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's about all I can think of. I think Renee covered it pretty much, you know, for the most part. I think there's one for clarification. A lot of times, because we are actually we are actually housed at NPR, but you know, we kind of look at ourselves as a separate organization. The public radio satellite system doesn't really belong to NPR per se. I think we were just put there because it was convenient. We were in Washington, we were in the same building. But NPR, like some of the other producers, are just one of our clients. I mean, we actually have a contract with NPR just like we do with WXXI and WUNC. And so, and it was done that way, I guess, because in the event that, say, if NPR ever went out of business, the system would continue without, NPR. Say, if one producer just, say, folds and goes under, then the distribution system wouldn't go with it. So that's why we were kind of set up as a separate entity within an entity. Now we're all considered NPR employees, but the public radio system belongs to the entire system, not just the one producer. So just a point of clarification.
Okay, here's something I just noticed on my phone number is wrong on this slide. If you call this number, you'll be calling the NOC. So don't call them. Call 2642. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, Renee. We need to correct that slide. So.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely, because if we calling the NOC and we'll be hearing.
I thought when I saw that, I thought, Mel, she must have a job there.
I know. I know. Well, before I worked here, I worked for a radio station for a really long time, and I was on the phone with the NOC constantly because we were an uplink, and I knew the people at the NOC better than I knew the people that I worked with. So I considered them my colleagues at the NOC, even though I worked at a different station. So they're very helpful.
Renee works out of Chicago. She works from home, so she's like, now that everybody's working from home, Renee is kind of like, oh, okay, now you see what I go through every day.
Yeah, it's not so great, is it?
Yeah. We've all had to make an adjustment. I left DC to come back to Atlanta, so I've been working from Atlanta for the last several months, and so Renee's in Chicago, but she's normally in Chicago. So, but for everybody else, it's been a big adjustment because we've all had to adjust working from home. So she's like, oh, okay. But anyway.
Well, thank you to Renee and Earl for joining us today, and thank you to our guests on the call. Nice to have you. And PRSS has been a good friend to CBI over the years, and we appreciate your support with this webinar. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I mean, anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
And please take advantage of them. Like I said, Renee can send you the login so you can just kind of go in and look around. And don't be afraid. You won't mess up anything or cause any damage to happen.
We won't let you mess up.
But it's a good way to just kind of get familiar with it, look around, see what kind of programs you have, just play with it a little bit. So please take advantage of that.
Okay, thank you. And a reminder, this session will be available publicly, and we will get those links shared on our listserv as soon as possible. So thank you again. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.